have such sights to show you.
We're Poppin the Scary Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Coale, and with me, as always, I have my good friend and co-host, Aaron.
Hi! That's me.
Hello, Aaron.
doing?
Doing A-okay. Was trying something new and everything,
Yeah,
and
well.
Just went off without a hitch.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you gotta try some new things.
Yeah, you know, it was just something I dreamed up.
Yeah, you gotta live your dreams.
Yeah, dreams.
Dream to win.
Dream. Man of my dreams.
I wish there was a creative segue here, but I just can't think of anything that relates to dreams in this next movie we're gonna watch.
Well, I know. There's nothing. There's nothing with
there.
the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise to have anything to do with dreams.
Yeah, well.
But anyways, so with that sad transition, yeah, that was a nightmare.
That was rough.
Anyways, so we're talking about the fourth installment on the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and just to put a track record, for the most part, with the past three films, I would say, from your perspective, Aaron, it's been fair to middling.
Yeah, I really like the concept and the idea, but sometimes I'm like, the movies themselves are a little hit or miss.
Yeah,
in aspects.
Yeah, understandable, and we're basically already halfway through the franchise, because from what I remember, technically there are 7 installments of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, minus crossover that happens later.
I gotcha.
But already halfway through and everything, and so... Do you happen to know anything about this installment in particular?
No, all I know is the knowledge we've built upon through the previous few movies. But I'm definitely entering the territory where I don't know any further things about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, it's basically from here on out, like, unless I get a wild hair and I just watch the entire franchise by myself, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm like, I know about moments that happened throughout the series, because whenever I first got interested in horror, I'd watch people talk about it and they would share certain clips and everything from certain films. So I know of one scene in particular, obviously not going to spoil it, but I imagine it's probably going to be in this film or one of the later ones. Hence, we probably would have talked about it on the podcast, but... Yeah, so I'm also kind of like in uncharted territory for myself as well, because like I said, I know you're more of a bigger Freddy fan than I am. Like, I like Freddy, it's just not as much as the average bear. Fair and enough. Everything else. I still think he's cool, but yeah, so I never really delve in to myself. I guess I'm into the strong silent type. Fair. Yeah,
he's a little wacky. He's got some quips and quotes.
Yes.
I like his little noodly nature.
Yes. The noodle man.
Waving around his little fingies.
Yeah.
Can't be mad at Freddy.
And I mean, you certainly can.
I mean, he's done a couple bad things, but does that mean we have to cancel him? Just a little boiler room fun?
I mean, hell, we elected one.
True.
I'm sorry. I was right there. I had to take the cheap late night show.
Half the country would elect.
Yes, exactly.
Would elect Freddy for
president. Yes. We're gonna get defunded.
You've seen what he done to kids. Wait till you see what he does to immigrants. Anyways.
All right. That being said, I always ask this for any sequel. Any hopes, aspirations, anything you might be afraid the film tries to take in a direction? Like, what are your...
What my hopes are is that it nails in the two things that I've identified as my favorite parts of the Elm franchise. That would be wacky, funny dream sequence shenanigans, where he gets big stretchy arms and does wacky stuff, really making full advantage of that dreamscape aspect. Which I think some movies have done better than others. And then I really love the survivor of the first movie and how much she fights back and kicks ass. So I hope that also happens in this movie, where people aren't afraid to hit a lamp over Freddy's head or whatever.
I think those are good aspirations and hopes to have and everything. Yeah. I just hope to have a good time.
Yeah.
Be it good or bad. Just having a good time.
Yeah.
I think that's all you can ever hope for whenever you get deeper into a slasher franchise, is that you're just having a good time.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I'm not expecting, Citizen Kane to pop up in one of these films, but as long as I'm happy, having a good time, then I call that an absolute win. So,
with you there.
yeah, we'll have to see what happens. So we'll be right back after we watch A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
Dream Master. What a name.
Dream Master on the Dreamcaster. It's gonna go bankrupt.
Welcome to Wonderland, Alice.
And we are back from watching A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
They only mastered my dream.
Yeah. Speaking of the whole thing, initial thoughts, inquiries, observations.
Yeah, I liked it. Honestly, I was looking for those two things. I found those two things, which is, a cast that is willing to fight, some fighting back between Freddy. They're not just laying down and taking it. And some creative dream sequence shenanigans. I like how they explored daydreaming and it's even like a little deja vu aspect, some other aspects of dreaming in the movie. So it was neat. Yeah, I enjoyed it. What'd you think?
I'm of the same opinion. It's rare for me to go in with expectations of a film and basically have it met, where it's like, okay, you did exactly what I was looking for, and it's like, okay, cool. I got what I wanted out of that and everything. So
I think what I appreciated about this too is that it didn't feel like they were just making a sequel. Like a lot of times we watch these sequels and it's like you could tell they were like, well, we gotta hit that dead horse, like gotta print another one of these movies because people are gonna go see it. But this one had like I don't know, it had a concept that wasn't like the storyline wasn't super linear, the cast of characters wasn't super linear, and I feel like they came in with a real idea that they then executed on. That was like, all right, what if we did this?
Yeah, I'm very surprised in everything because it doesn't feel like it was exhausted. It didn't feel like it's like, okay, come on now, like we're reaching here.
Right.
I still feel like, especially because the concept is so unique, just someone that kills you in your dreams, that dreaming is infinite. You don't have to worry about reality playing a factor into it. And I think, again, like I really don't feel like they even scraped the bottom of the barrel with this film, which is nice. It's nice to feel like, yeah, this works. And I was genuinely pleasantly surprised with how I was like, yeah, this is like staying fresh, unique, everything, and it's enjoyable and everything. Critically, I probably could tear more into the film because of it, but really, like, I don't know. It's like one of those things where I'm not giving it a pass just because, like, oh, I wasn't expecting you to excel as a film and everything else. But at the same point, I don't really feel, critically speaking, it was even that bad either. Which is,
from a critical standpoint, I think they delivered really well. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to give this like a 10 out of 10. But I think most of my criticisms that are concrete are pretty like nitty gritty. Like, oh, this little moment here, they did, there's some little editing mishaps or whatever, or maybe the actors weren't completely up to snuff. But it's really like nitpicky for me when it comes to solid critiques as we go forward into that section. But overall, I thought it was a really well executed film. Like overall, from like a just looking at the basic standpoint, I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, which is always, it's always nice to be pleasantly surprised with like, oh, wow, okay.
Because especially in the realm of horror, a lot of it's low budget, a lot of it's on a timetable. Let's get this shit out for the summer or whatever. We're 4 films deep. Let's just shit out another one. But I really don't think that they were phoning this one in. I thought they were really, really creative and interesting with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and we'll probably dive more into specifics on what we liked and maybe versus what we didn't like. But Obviously, as I say with every freaking sequel on this podcast, spoiler alerts for any films previous to this one, because I feel like in order to better understand, especially since this is a direct follow-up to 3 and everything.
Dream Warriors.
Yes, yeah, Dream Warriors. Sickest title and everything. But yeah, we're going to be spoiling it. And so this film basically follows 3 of the survivors of the last film, which is Kristen, Joey, and Roland. And basically how, they managed to be released from the psych ward and everything, and are able to go back towards, again, a high school setting and everything else. And Kristen keeps having these like nightmares, feeling like Freddy's back, and as established in Dream Warriors, both her, Joey, and Roland have the ability to be Dream Warriors and everything, and fight in their dreams and everything else. And so, because of that, they're able to interconnect and see like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. Freddy's not back whatsoever. But as they come to find out later, he most certainly is back. And it's from Freddy's Return that our old standing characters, as well as new cast of characters that come in, have to figure out how they're going to deal with Freddy's Return and everything. Plot point wise, this... I sound like such a consumer of like, just like, oh, just give me the same thing over or whatever. But like, I was just happy to be back at a high school setting. Yeah. There's something just intrinsically, intrinsic to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, it being set in a high school more than anything. It's kind of like Friday the 13th, you expect to be at a summer camp of sorts. Right. You're not saying you can't be at the summer camp, but it's intrinsically part of the franchise.
And in Halloween, you gotta be in that little neighborhood, and it's all like, it's part of the core identity.
Yes, I would definitely say so. So the fact that, we got that one scene of all the high school students pulling into the parking lot and doing stuff, like that was immediate, like, guilty like boost of ecstasy, like here we go, that's what we're talking about.
All the like 80s hairstyles and everything.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
Fashion and the cars and music, and it was all like I love that just time period of making movies, period.
I mean, that was the same way I felt at the beginning, like once they're playing like a pop song and everything else, very 80s and everything, I was already digging it. Like I try to like not have my excitement blind my overall critical thinking of the film and everything else, but at the same point,
it's just a cool aesthetic.
Yeah,
and it's in fashion again now. Most of the outfits and stuff I saw in this movie, I was like, yeah, like that would be a cool fit today.
Absolutely. The drip is sick. Yeah, so that was one thing I was excited to see about the plot. Another thing, plot-wise, that I definitely like is that they didn't worry too much about like, okay, we got to keep adding to the lore, the mythos, everything. Like they add a little bit to it, but at the same point, I never felt like it distracted from the film.
Yeah, I also feel like they didn't harp on too heavily like the established stuff in the past. They weren't like, all right, now remember, Freddy Krueger did this, and this happened, and all the people came together to kill. They didn't they didn't bother over explaining to the audience. Like the film makes sense if you don't remember any of the other movies. Like it still does.
Yeah, and so I think that's what I appreciated. They still introduced something new, but it's like so relatively small as opposed to like the previous film. I felt like they were trying to do heavy lore dumps, heavy lore discoveries, everything, and I just felt like it just got way too damn messy and everything.
It bogged it down a bit.
So I definitely appreciate this one. That really the only new concept that's brought is, again, just the Dream Master, and also correlating to exactly, what Freddy is an amalgamation of and everything. So because of that, it's definitely like okay, sweet. I am so happy that this is exactly what they decided to try to do with this film and everything. So definitely happy and excited about that. Yeah. But yeah, so just a plot point wise, I'm like, you're doing exactly what, was best for the film and everything. Now, obviously, because it's nothing like too crazy of a plot, like something inconceivable and everything else, it's like, it's one of those things that I can't say that it's like, oh, plot's perfect or whatever. I think it's just like, for what it was, I think it was like to the max extent what it could have been.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, for the concept that they were writing around, I think they did the best they could. For sure.
Definitely. And so, going to the cast of characters and everything.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite actress name is the actress that plays Kirsten or whatever it is.
Yes, Kristen.
Played by Tuesday Night.
Yes, which is funny because it's a different actress than in the first one, who was played by Patricia Arquette and everything. And in all honesty, it's one of those things that even though they changed the actress and everything, and she is a bit different than her counterpart in the Psych Ward, I still thought she was a badass. Like, she was just like dripping badass vibes and everything, always like breaking out cigarette with a matchbook.
She was understandably an anxious person, so she was always whipping out that cig to calm her down.
But I gotta be honest, I feel like Tuesday Night did a perfectly fine job filling the gap. It was never like one of those things I ever felt like, I feel like sometimes whenever they recast an actor and everything, it's like, okay, this is suffering majorly. Like, literally, no offense to Patricia Arquette, but I wouldn't say her performance was anything that was noteworthy, stuck out. And so I feel like Tuesday Night swinging in for the role of Kristen, I feel like she does a perfectly fine job and doesn't make the story feel like weird, like, because a lot of times I have that issue whenever they swap cast members or whatever, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not believing you're this person right now. But because during slashers, these characters don't really exactly have like a deep sort of character development and everything, I think that plays out in the favor that it's easier to step in, and there's a lot of wiggle room to do as well to kind of have her branch out. So I felt like Tuesday Night did more than all right.
Yeah.
Doing that.
A lovely Tuesday Night.
But they did get the original actors back for Joey and Kincaid, played by Rodney Eastman and Ken Sagos. And I feel like, again, it's just sort of the same thing. I would say, like, definitely out of the three, Kincaid was more a defined character in part 3 and everything.
He was the only one that because I didn't really remember exactly the actors from the last movie. He was the only one that I was like, okay, he didn't get recast, because I did remember him from
Yes, and, fucking Rodney Eastman had a glow up and everything, just like, because I remember he was like the quiet kid, didn't say much, and then spoke words, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, he spoke. And in this one, he's like absolutely like glown up, like perfect chin line, everything else.
He's been mewing, man.
And you know, I definitely would say like, I had the most fun watching Kincaid, but I had really a lot of fun watching him as an actor in part 3 and everything. And can I just say, I think it's such a great idea that they have these characters come back as Dream Warriors and everything, because one of my biggest criticisms of 3 is that I felt like by the time they realized we're Dream Warriors, they hardly do shit with it. Like, they do some things, but it's like so minimal.
Yeah, it's
so
like one scene each.
Yeah, and so just the fact that they're like, oh, let's just bring them back and have them do the same sort of powers, be the same threat and everything. It's like, okay, cool. I like that a ton and everything. I obviously will have more critiques about some of their scenes later on, but as a concept, I'm like, you know what? I'm all about this. This is pretty dadgum sweet and everything. But then we move on to our new cast of characters. One of them is Alice. I'm on the wrong IMDb page. God damn it. I was like looking, I was like, this isn't IMDb here. We have Alice, played by Lisa Wilcox, and unfortunately, I wasn't as crazy about her character initially like I was about Kristen's character Tuesday, but again, it's just like she was just very more mild and everything. But as the film progresses on, I would say that I'm fine with her as a main character, following her forward and everything else, since the plot decides to focus on this concurrent storyline and everything. So I felt like she overall did a-okay, and
She definitely has the most character growth out of any of them, I think. Her character changes from the first time you see her to the last time you see her pretty dramatically, and I think the actress did a good job of reflecting that.
yeah, I would definitely say so. I wasn't sure how I would feel about her at first, but like I said, she grew on me and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Because she starts out, she doesn't have much of a character, but that's kind of her character, is that she's like always daydreaming in her head, not really interacting. But...
Yes, exactly. So I feel like it works out perfectly fine. And then we have her brother, Rick Johnson, who is played by Andrus Jones. And I felt like I ruined his character all because there's a lot of like ways he talks and looks that he acts like Ludwig and everything. And so I feel like because of that, I just like I could not get past it in my head and everything.
Once he pointed it out to me, I couldn't get it out of my head.
I feel like I just ruined it. I mean, I wouldn't say I ruined it. I had fun watching it, but at the same point, trying to take it from a neutral standpoint instead of this is just Ludwig.
Yeah, he does look and uncannily act at times like Ludwig. But...
Yeah, like I am now and the way my stupid brain works is now I get off on the trail like, what would Ludwig be like if he was being hunted by Freddy?
Just busting into the dream like, boys!
Yeah, boys! We have ourselves an intruder. Fred Krueger is haunting my dreams. No, Chad, I didn't sleep with him.
We've got 24 hours to get rid of him. I'm not ending stream until it happens. He would monetize the shit out of
Oh
that
yeah,
situation.
absolutely.
I'm being haunted by Freddy Krueger, so I'm pulling in fellow content creators to help me fight him. Into my dreams.
I brought over Connor to help me fight Freddy Krueger. Oh my god. Yeah, and so unfortunately because of that, I just couldn't take him seriously, but genuinely speaking, I felt like he did a good job because I thought he was going to be purely obnoxious, but no, it was like a mix of being sort of obnoxious, but never to the point of being like aggravating and everything. I think also it's because he has to kind of go through some emotional beats as well and everything, just kind of trying to be supportive of his sister and everything, to where I'm like, I don't mind this character. This character definitely feels more fleshed out instead of cardboard. Because I felt like anytime they ever had to have a serious talk, because as you come to find out, you know, they have a single parent and everything because they lost their mom a long time ago and everything. I never felt like them talking to each other. Like I always have this nasty habit of just dazing out anytime they're having like down-to-earth serious talks because it's so half-assedly done that it's just like, yeah, okay, they talk through this, it's this. But I was able to pay attention because they like mix in like serious talk while also just, again, trying to keep it light. They're just like, this is important for story. We're not going to wait in it.
Light. Yeah, it is funny that like, you know, it's a slasher movie. It revolves around a lot of these high school kids dying. But like, despite that, those emotional beats being written into the film, it never really feels like any of them. Like, my girlfriend just died, and they're like, well, we gotta keep our chins up. Like,
yes, yeah, exactly.
They don't, there's not a lot of, like, weepy moments. But
yeah, which is always nice. I'm really happy that they, again, didn't try to, like, focus on it solely and everything, because I feel like
it is a little lighthearted, more of a slasher movie. I mean, Robert Englund as a Freddy Krueger is just a big goofball.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. But yeah, so far, like I said, cast has been perfectly fine and everything. And going through, one of the other characters we meet is Debbie, played by Brooke Thies. Debbie. And I felt like she was definitely one of the weaker characters. She was mostly more tough girl aesthetic, more brawn over brain.
Yeah, she's like, I work out and I'm cool.
Yeah, and
which I liked, but there just wasn't.
There wasn't much to it and everything.
She didn't leave as much as an impact, even though I thought she was super cool. She always looked super cool, but she just didn't really do much.
Yes, which, you know, like I said, it's not like we're expecting deep characters.
Right.
But at the same point, it's just like there's not as much to say. It's just like, yep,
Yeah.
tough girl who, again, I feel like is supposed to be kind of like, filling the role, just like Sheila, played by Toy Newkirk and everything. It's supposed to be more brain over brawn,
Right.
sort of thing. But I know they were trying to make her like look nerdy and everything else, but she was like fashionable.
Fucking hot.
Yeah, like she was like gorgeous. Everything.
I didn't make a comment because I'm not trying to objectify. But now that we're on the podcast, it's objectifying time. And yeah, I was like, she's supposed to be like the nerdy one, but she's like the hottest one in the cast.
Yeah,
Goddamn.
yeah,
She's looking fly. She had her little messy bun shit going on, her little glasses. I mean,
yeah,
shit.
she had the inhaler too and
Yeah,
everything. But
Sheila and I could kick it.
Yeah.
Well, most of the women in this movie are actually pretty dope, so I could kick it with most of them. But
Yeah.
Sheila and I, that would be my first ask.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you because like and it was one of those things where I was like, I'm actually digging this character.
She was cool.
Yeah, she was cool.
She was supposed to be like a nerd, but she always had like cool comebacks. She was confident in herself. She wasn't like the oh boy, I dropped
Yeah.
on my books nerd stereotype. They made her a cool nerd.
Yeah. So I was genuinely like behind it. I'm like, man, this is like cooking.
Yeah.
This is like good casting, like good overall. Because again, I think movies always focus on making the nerd too lame.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it didn't feel like it's one of those things like, oh, I'm just a nerd, but if I remove my glasses, I'm a model. No, it was like a believable realm between both.
Yeah, and like they weren't. Even though she was a nerd, and it was acknowledged by all the members of the cast that she was the nerdy mind over matter one. It's not like they really treated her like it's not like that everyone was bullying her or whatever. They like respected her as a person. That was there wasn't some scene where she's getting shoved in a locker or whatever. Which I feel like those sorts of like cookie cutout like character tropes are really common in horror, and I really liked the way that this one took those tropes but then made them not so like cookie cutter, you know what I mean?
Yes,
because it's like, yeah, you got the jock, you got the cool girl, you got the what, yeah, the nerd, you have these character tropes, but they were all like still actual characters. They gave them personalities and like interesting things about them instead of just being like, yep, cut out. So I think that's a way where you handle those stereotypes where it's like immediately identifiable who's who, but then also give the characters like character.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. One of the final members of the group, I would argue that again does fall kind of on the weaker side with Debbie, is Dan, played by Danny Hassel, who again is more of the jock. He's just the nice jock,
and he's super handsome.
Yes,
he's got that chiseled jawline.
Yes.
He's the Chad.
I honestly was surprised because like whenever he first comes on the scene, I'm not gonna lie, I was not buying his acting at all. But as the film went on and everything, I was like, okay, I'm buying in it a little bit, like enough not to be pulled out of the film. But at first, like whenever he was introduced, I'm like, okay, there's always one.
Right.
There's always one, but I'm happy to report, at least on my behalf, I was able to.
I like him,
Yeah.
I love he's a jock, but he was not just like, again, the character stereotype. He's jock, he's straight jock, and he's always wearing that Letterman jacket and looking handsome. But he's not like, he wasn't a meathead, he wasn't an asshole. He even like stands up against a minor bullying comment at one point in the film. Or one of his other football buddies is like, can you believe this girl? He's like, hey, shut the fuck up, man. Like, he's like, whoever just died, like, so you can't be talking about him that way.
Yeah.
And then immediately goes and apologizes to that. So he's like a really stand-up guy, which is cool because, like, I don't know, my experience, a lot of the jocks were that way. A lot of the jocks were also fucking asshole meatheads that you
Yes.
see, but, like, it's like representation of, like, this is like a real kind of person.
Yeah, which is nice. It's nice to have a group of characters that you don't hate, that you're able to stay invested in, and not in the usual slasher trope of, like, can we just get to the killer?
Right. Like, this is a
come
character,
on.
here's enough sprinkling to make you believe that it's a real person, and go. But,
Yeah.
like, this actually takes the time to, like, have real human interactions between people that are more believable dialogue.
And then speaking of killer, let's talk about the big man himself, Freddy Krueger, played by Robert Englund.
Old Krugster.
How was his performance in this film?
Well, I did like the way he was brought back, even though it was, like, not really explained or something at all.
Yeah, it is not explained for shit.
But I
lore-wise.
kind of like that because, like,
Yeah.
I feel like by the time you hit movie number 4, you've sort of dug yourself into a hole of, like, he's never coming back, like, 3 times, and then it's like, well, we gotta bring him back somehow. And they just don't explain it, and they're just like, I'll save it for spoilers, but the way he's brought back is really funny to me. But I think really emblematic of, like, here's his character, he's, like, goofy horrible. He's like horrible and goofy at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I love the mix, and I love how he's always has some fucking funny one-liner to say while he's trying to murder children, you know? So like it's the juxtaposition for me that makes me like his character.
Yeah, I felt like he was equally parts menacing as he was goofy and everything, which is important. And I definitely, because, I mean, obviously we've seen some films where there wasn't enough Freddy, like in 2, where he was just barely existed and everything. And I feel like this one, it was like a good mix of him showing up and being menacing and everything. But I mean, Robert Englund just hits it out of the park. He hits it out of the park every time he's on screen. He has his character on lockdown. He has the poise, the menace.
And he's also having fun. And I think that is core to Freddy Krueger, is like he kills kids because he likes it. And he's having a great time.
I mean, it's bad that don't have anything much to say, but it's like, what can you say that hasn't already been said the past 3 episodes we've talked about Nightmare on Elm Street? He's just good. He's just great. He has great moments, everything else. I mean, it's hard to say like what his best performance is whenever I feel like he's always bringing his best and everything.
He's always bringing it. Yeah. I think one of my favorite moments that I'll spoil just this joke, just because it really emblemizes like what I like about Freddy Krueger. Because there's a scene with a waterbed, and whenever and I won't give away too many details, but whenever he arrives, he's like, talk about a wet dream.
It was so good. Oh man, yeah, like it. I mean, it's weird, right? I mean, it just feels like you can have favorite moments of Freddy, but he just hits it out of the park. There's a reason why Robert Englund will always be remembered as Freddy Krueger.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It's like if Sonic the Hedgehog was a bad guy. That's the level of one-liners he's always on. He's just like, hey, he's bringing that energy, you know?
Whoa, talk about a wet dream.
Hey! Now I'm just thinking of those AI Sonic videos. He's gonna like kill a kid and then start like, oh, Macarena, or whatever.
Oh, that's a real nightmare there. It's just Freddy Krueger bringing out AI Sonic.
Yeah, that's gonna be the new nightmare, is just TikTok slop.
Oh, God, that's truly horrifying. Speaking of the nightmares, how did you feel the nightmares were in this dream?
I actually really loved it. Yeah, they played around with, you know, some creative dream locations and what might happen in those locations. They played around with a lot of dream logic stuff, you know. There's a lot of times where it was like, okay, why just be in this house when you could be upside down on the ceiling in this house? Why just, you know, I feel like they really flexed the creative muscles that are available to you. Just the infinite amount that are available to you whenever you're in a dream.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I feel like the nightmares, again, were just really good. They were just really well done and everything, and They definitely, there was one dream in particular where I was like, holy hell, this is going way even further than what I thought they would with most dreams and everything. It happens towards later in the film and everything to where I was just like, okay, wow.
Right.
I was not expecting this sort of nightmare to happen, but this is certainly a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. They play on some of the characters' fears at times, but they also just play on, like, wouldn't it be funny if we were here? And what would Freddy do here? And really played with the environment and everything.
Yeah, no, I feel like, again, it just was very, like, wow, these are good, solid nightmares. There really wasn't one, at least that I could think of off the top of my head, that I was like, okay, this is kind of lame.
Yeah, I was never in
kill or
Yon City.
anything.
As soon as the spooky music was on and you knew you were in a nightmare, I was like, all right, what's going to happen?
One thing I do want to applaud this film on is sort of the cinematography and settings overall. I felt, I don't know what it was, but like I was truly blown away, especially in the first half. I was like, man, they have the vibe going, the camera angles, and they play with so much with the lighting and just everything about it. I was like, this film is super artsy for what it is.
Yeah, then that's, I think, what really sets this above some of the previous entries for me, but also just like in horror slashers in general. I mean, not just being artsy, but like how that represents what the characters are going through. I love the way they reflect like how Freddy's always there. He's in the background. He's sort of the symbolism of like the ephemeralness of Freddy, just like the ephemeralness of a dream by him constantly being like in a reflection or like a stack of objects that kind of looks like him or something, and the way that they shoot these things when he arrives, whether it's, in the pool of a fountain or in the shot of a mirror, or there's one part where somebody's lifting weights, and in the barbell you can see the reflection of Freddy. They just do a really great job of identifying these little moments that they can add a little juice and pizzazz that really, I think, sets it apart.
Yeah, I just was not prepared for that at all whatsoever and everything. And it's not to say that I didn't have expectations fit. Again, it was just more having a good time, which I did. I just wasn't prepared for it to be like, wow, they really did give an effort. I never felt like this was sort of half-assing, just throw it out for some money and everything. So I truly appreciated that at the very least. And it's like you said before, Aaron, they did actually put up a fight. It's not like sort of the helpless, scampering away and everything else like that. Like, they truly were just like, okay, there's Freddy, try to bring it on at some point.
Right.
But then obviously whenever they feel at their wit's end, then realistically, yeah, of course they can't do much.
Right. But that's realistically is the key word there, I think, because a lot of times, when you get bored in slashers when it's like, why are you running into the basement again or whatever, or why are you just standing there screaming, letting him kill you or whatever. Like, to a certain extent, certain characters that make more sense, but yeah, this one, it was like, yeah, it made sense on a character by character basis and a scenario by scenario basis, Yeah. When sometimes they're getting surprised and like, what can you do? But then other times it's like, all right, well, this guy's fighting back.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that and everything. I'm trying to think, is there any, I guess it's kind of hard maybe without spoiling. Is there anything you could think of off the top of your head that maybe you're like, I'm not crazy about that?
I don't know. That's my thing about this movie, is that there's not a lot I can fault it on. I think there are really just what's going to keep this from hitting like a 10 to me is just like there's not that same level of juice and gravity. I don't know, like gravity to any part of the situation that you might expect in a movie that I would rank higher, like an Alien or a Get Out or a whatever, or an American Psycho, where they really just juice all they can out of it. I think they take those moments in between, and with that creative cinematography stuff, do a lot more than they have in previous entries, and like it hits a higher artistic standard. But for me, my criticisms really aren't like this part's an F. It's like this part's a B and could be an A. But like, you know what I mean? So I don't think there's anything I can really identify besides maybe a couple poor acting moments and some bad editing decisions here and there. But again, it's really like nitpicky for me that the things that I think did quote unquote wrong.
Yeah, because I'm kind of with you there. There truly isn't anything I can say, man, this part of the film sucked, or this part was boring, or anything else like that. I could point out some things where I'm like, okay, this is overly cheesy and everything else, but at the same point, it doesn't really hurt the film, in my opinion.
It doesn't, because the film embraces that cheese. It's not trying to not be cheesy and then, be super serious all the time, and then, some fucking noodly arms moment happens. Yeah. It's like, that's the identity of the film, is this sort of cheese, and it keeps that level of levity throughout while also progressing a plot that you care about. But
this could be a comparison that I regret making later and everything else, because I feel like there's an example, but I feel like this is like a damn good charcuterie tray in a sense. Like, it could be the best charcuterie tray that you have, but it's never going to. It's never going to reach the height of other dishes.
Right. It's never going to be a a perfectly cooked steak or whatever. It's always a charcuterie board, but it's probably the best damn charcuterie board you can get.
I feel like it's that, and I feel like that's this film. Like, what it has and everything, it does its best. It understands what it is and decide to obviously do its best being that. And while definitely I feel like the cheese is on point, the meats are on point, the fruits are on point and everything, it's just not enough to compare to other dishes I've had, maybe. I mean,
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
You're right, because this is like whenever you go through Whataburger and it hits super hard. You know what I mean? It's like
yes.
this is a good ass Whataburger, and that's how what I would compare it to. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna like take my girlfriend's parents there to meet them the first time. But if you're craving Whataburger, I mean, this is the Whataburger for you.
Yeah, I think that's really good as well. Like, in all honesty, I like that comparison. So it's kind of weird to say, like, there's nothing we intrinsically hate or maybe weren't a fan of about this film. But at the same point, spoiling my rating, it's not a 10 out of 10 either and everything. It just doesn't hit like that thing where it just feels like it ascends.
Yeah, I think they'd have to like bake a new concept for it to hit that point. But for this concept,
Yes.
they executed it really well.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of ratings and everything else, what would you rate A Nightmare on Elm Street for?
You know, honestly, it came in this conversation, I was thinking, maybe this is like a 7 out of 10. But the more we talk and the more I kind of sort through it critically and process, I'm thinking this is like an 8 out of 10 for me. This is my favorite entrance so far in the Elm Street franchise, and I think it's the most well done from like just a raw technical zoomed back, like what's the best, like from a critical standpoint. I think this one probably knocks it out of the park more than any of the other ones. Again, yeah, just like there's a couple moments where it's like a noticeable editing flub where it's like, okay, that was kind of a weird line delivery that they cut in really quick or whatever. But like besides those little nitpicky moments, and maybe a slower pacing than we're used to in the current year, for movies. Besides that, I mean, I really think, yeah, they really stretch those moments in between. They really put a lot of great practical effects in here. Awesome soundtrack. I mean, I think it's a complete success of an Elm franchise movie. So it's like an 8 out of 10 for me. Again, probably not this script probably couldn't hit a 10 out of 10 for me. I think they'd have to rework the concept a little bit. But for what it is, I think it's it's really well done.
Yeah, and I'm super glad you brought up practical effects, because in all honesty, there were practical effects in here where I was like, God damn,
some super crazy. I mean, I actually love the way, spoiler alert, it ends. I guess I won't spoil, but how it ends and how, the resolution of what happens to Freddy, I guess, at the end. I really love all the practical effects involved in that scene.
One of the practical effects that did wow me is just the return of Freddy.
Yeah,
I was
that
like,
too.
oh my God. Like, it's so nice, because this film, I believe, came out in 88 and everything. And looking at it now, like, obviously, you're like, oh, it's just makeups or whatever. But it's the same fucking beat I'm going to do on my drum about this. Practical effects trumps CGI effects 9 times out of 10. Actually, 10 out of 10. Who the fuck am I kidding? Who the fuck am I kidding?
Yeah, because it's timeless. I mean, if you nail that, I mean, it's always gonna look good.
Yeah, and like I said, like, even though I can probably assume how they did it, the fact that they're like, okay, they got to pull this string to make this happen, and reverse footage to do, like, all of that, like, the practical effects in this film, absolutely gorgeous. And even if some practical effects didn't land, like, it's like, okay, that doesn't look quite as believable, always going to prefer that,
right? Because you can just see the artistry involved.
Yeah.
every time,
but yeah, but going back to rating, I'm just glad you brought that up, because I was like, yes, that is one of the praises I wanted to mention. It honestly, it's an 8 out of 10 for me as well. It's an 8 out of 10 for me, and I truly am on the same page with Aaron, where I feel like just there is nothing else they could have done script wise. Like, they could have even done fine tuning, like some bad deliveries, like they mentioned, or like if it comes to keeping the script the way it is and everything else, yeah, like they maxed it out. Like, this is the most you can do with it and everything else, besides some like fine tuning and everything else. Like, maybe the only thing I could potentially think of that might have elevated it to a 9 is maybe have the characters be a little more in depth. But even then, like, that's just, it's one of those things that I don't feel like, it's one of those things that I'm like, man, I wish these characters were more grounded. It's like, again, this is just me grasping at straws here, but whenever it comes to my ratings of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, I like this film much more than Dream Warriors, which I think I gave a 7 on the podcast, or 7.5 maybe, which I have more of a newfound appreciation for on second rewatch and everything. Whenever it comes to trumping potentially the first one, this just comes down to the pure fact that it's just more nostalgia blinding me and everything, where it's like, okay, it's the first entry, and I love Heather Langdon Camp as Nancy and everything, and Johnny Depp. Like, it's one of those things that I love the film and everything, but at the same point, you saying you like 4 better than 1, I can't fault you for that at all whatsoever. Like, that's why I'm giving it an 8. I gave the first Nightmare on Elm Street an 8 out of 10, this one an 8. If I had to choose which one, it might be the first one, but only because of personal pick, not for critical pick, because I do, like, as much as people praise and laud that film, definitely a lot of the critical thoughts you had mentioned about it previously, I think hold a lot of water, and everything else, it's definitely like, yeah, that's true, I can't argue with that critique and everything. And so this film for me is like sitting literally right next to the first one, maybe. Like, there is no gap in between 1 and 4 for me. Like, it truly, it's like, not only did this film deliver what I expected, but it did so creatively, just gorgeously, like, doing that. And it's like, man, good fucking job.
Right.
That's like all I could say. They just did great and everything. And so it's honestly kind of amazing that, you know, I'm just genuinely kind of over the moon, because I thought the review was going to be like this. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, kind of like, oh yeah, it did it.
Yeah.
Didn't wow me, but it did it.
Yeah,
But
it was another
no,
one.
truly, like, I was just like, yeah, I'm surprised I've heard nobody really talk about 4 as much as they do 1 and 3. And I think that's the other surprise and everything, that people usually praise 1 and 3, but I feel like 4 has a lot of there's an argument to be had that, again, it could be seen as, you know, potentially the best entry in the franchise and everything. So
I think there's several moments that are going to stick with me in this one. That, I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of moments I could think of that's like, what happened in Dream Warriors, like, by this point. But, like, I can remember shit from the first one, and I think I'm going to remember shit from this one.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's good. It's good, and definitely, yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's all I can say. It's good. It's good.
You want to watch a good movie? Go watch this movie.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's nothing more I could say without spoiling. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, if for some reason, I feel like most people that, if they love Nightmare on Elm Street, they probably have seen all of them.
Yeah.
If for some reason you only watch 1 through 3, because you thought those were the only good ones, minus 2. Sorry, 2. I know I know there's like a there's a cult following that's been building up and everything. I appreciate it being pro LGBTQ, all that stuff, but I'm sorry, that's the only flotation device you have going on there. Yeah, watch this film. We're gonna spoil the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, as always, I give you the privilege of choosing what you want to talk about first.
Well, I actually kind of want to talk about, it's not really a twist, but it is an unconventional plot device. I feel like the main characters of this movie, they kill after the first act, and then the main character becomes Alice, which is cool, which is neat. That's a big risk to take, but I think that they pulled it off. You know?
Yeah, it honestly felt very natural, as opposed to other films, like especially legacy sequels or whatever, where they're like, okay, we can't have this character going on forever. Let's kill them off, and then you have as way less interesting character, because even though,
and Alice was kind of set up to be that way, because obviously they weigh these concurrent storylines in the beginning so that you could kind of set up Alice taking over later, but she's not very interesting in the first act, like, at all. But the plot device that they give her is intrinsic, I think, to making her a more interesting character, which is that she absorbs their powers, but also kind of their personalities a little bit. After she gets pulled into the dream by Kristen the first time, Kristen's like, I'm dying, and she like gives her the power to pull other people into her dreams. But with that, because she's like the dream master or whatever, she also has the ability to like she gets a little bit of their powers, and that's reflected once she's like starts smoking. She's like, I don't smoke, and then when her brother dies, she starts doing like kung fu nunchuck shit, and she's like, what's happening to me? You know what I mean? But it sets up a vehicle in which you can kind of tell what's going to happen in the movie, but you're still interested in seeing it because you're like, all right, her friends are going to die. She's going to absorb her powers, and then she's going to use that to fight Freddy. Like you can kind of telegraph that by the halfway point through the movie or whatever. But even though you know what's going to happen, you're still like, what's going to happen? Because all the dreams are so fucking wacky and everything, and you don't know exactly who all's going to die. Like her Chad-ass boyfriend didn't die, so she didn't get the power of a strong jawline or whatever. Yeah. But she didn't need that to defeat Freddy.
Yeah, it's really interesting and everything, because I was kind of surprised. I didn't know, because in all honesty, I'm so used to some sequels dropping what they did previously because they're like, we don't want to mess with it. Like, but like again, talking about the powers they have, like you have the Dream Warriors that remain with Kristen, Joey, and Kincaid and everything. And because they bring them in, they're not dropping it. I'm so used to, I was prepared going into this film that we're not going to talk about Dream Warriors. Right. That doesn't take place. We're going back to square one, no powers or anything else. Not only do they bring the original actors, well, 2 out of the 3, but you get the point. The original characters from the last film with their powers. Relatively, I have criticisms on how much they use their powers in the dreams.
Really use them at all.
Only Kincaid, I believe, maybe is the only one. Maybe arguably Kristen, because she brought Alice into the dream.
Did bring people into
Joey didn't do shit, which I think his was like supersonic voice. I think because he didn't talk or whatever.
I didn't even remember his power.
Yeah,
I just remember Kincaid being strong or whatever.
Yes, but not only that, but bringing in this idea of Dream Master, because whenever they were talking about it first, I'm like, okay, I don't know what they're going to do with it. But again, as soon as they make it like, because she was in the dream with Alice and everything, and I saw like the soul go into her, or the power, I guess, go into her and everything. And again, the first thing you notice is whenever she pulls out a cigarette, she's like, oh, I don't smoke or whatever. Doing that, and then, mind over matter.
Right. Well, there was another one for Kristen too, because she says the phrases that the other characters say sometimes, and she said to Kristen whenever she ran into the nerd whose name is escaping me, Sheila.
Yes, Sheila.
She says the same thing that Kristen said to someone else in a different scene that she wasn't present. She was like, "You're got the same luggage or whatever."
Yes.
The bags under the eyes,
Yes, doing that. So I think it's really unique what they did with the Dream Master, and to the point that it builds up to, there's actually a fucking payoff, which is so sad that it's like, oh, holy shit, there's a payoff for everything they were throwing in. So I think the idea of Dream Master and everything else is great. I also love that, again, adding to the mythos, daydreaming, which has never been addressed, and also, the way they utilize her daydreaming and everything else, I feel like helps and everything, especially whenever it came to her kind of seeing things, because she's constantly daydreaming, that I guess she could see other people dreaming as well at moments, and then being able to talk to people that have passed on and everything else. Like, I feel like it's such a unique concept and everything that I was like, that's cool. That's cool. You brought something new to the mythos of the world and everything that doesn't overly complicate it, I don't think.
No, it's just like, here's another, because we've already introduced the concept of like, there are people with dream powers or whatever, and this is her little dream power, is that she, can daydream, and is it has been taught by her mother to be the masters of her dream. Which I need to ask, was her mother like a character in a previous entry or something? Because her dad is like an alcoholic that's upset that her mother's dead, and her mother told her about the power of like dreams and being a dream master or some shit. I didn't know if I missed some little detail that her mom is actually fucking Nancy or some shit. I don't know, but
I don't think so, off the top of my head, at the very least. Like, pretty much, because all it's brought is, like, the dad gets upset and saying, like, I don't want you to leave like your mother and your brother did.
Right, but crucially, and it's not really elaborated on, so you don't know exactly what's meant on this, But whenever she's trying to leave that first time, she's like, you don't know what's going on, and the dad's like, I know exactly what's going on with you and your friends. But then they don't ever elaborate on that.
That was weird.
So I'm wondering if, yeah, like their mom also died to Freddy or something. But
maybe
I don't know. I maybe the folks at home will know the deeper lore. But.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, at the very least, about the lore behind exactly. Now I'm curious that I want to figure this out.
Okay, according to the wiki,
I trust the wiki more.
Was an alcoholic who constantly complains and argues with his 2 children ever since the passing of his wife. He apparently has no relevance with Freddy, meaning he wasn't one of the Elm Street parents responsible for his death. So I don't know. They don't.
Okay, well.
So probably not. But
yeah, but
I thought it was weird.
That was a weird line
connection.
delivery of "I know what's going on."
Yeah, I thought maybe they'd elaborate on that. At
unless
some point.
He's just talking about the previous kids that were killed, maybe.
Right.
And he knows that it's
a lot of people that
Freddy.
don't know what's going on would also say, "I know what's going on."
Yeah. So maybe that's it. But yes, we can just talk about the dreams in general, I guess, because in all honesty, the dreams drive a lot of they're the most interesting points to talk about.
I'd agree,
if I'm being honest. So one thing I do want to mention is, again, the intro slaps. It is like perfectly shot, showing like a hand drawing on the ground and everything, and it zooms out. It's like a little girl drawing like the house on Elm Street and everything, that classic Nightmare on Elm Street house, drawing in and everything, and just shooting from it from the beginning, showing Kristen walking through there, and she yells out for Joey and Kincaid, and they join a dream, and they're just like, man, what are you talking about, or whatever. And they do introduce a new idea, which is Kincaid's dog, Jason, which I love the fact his name is Jason. I feel like it can't be coincidental that it has to be a knock at, Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah. I also love that Jason's name in real life is Jake the dog.
Yeah. That's how he was credited. I lost my mind. I was like, oh, Jake the dog. But I did find it weird that Jason attacked Kristen on the arm and everything.
Yeah, jumped through the boiler room and then attacked her on the arm.
Yeah, and I was just like, is Freddy controlling the animals or something?
Yeah.
It was just weird.
It might imply that, because then, in Kincaid's dream later, when Freddy's trying to kill him in the junkyard where they buried him, there's Kincaid's dog is like growling at him and shit, and he's like, when he's telling him to come here and step away from it, and then he pisses fire to open up a portal to hell.
I forgot that happened. I don't know. I was just like, okay, well, all right.
That's what I was thinking. That I was like, that's perfect for Freddy, because like the whole scene, like the earth opening up and the bones reconnecting together and the flesh like melting onto his bones again. I mean, that's all like creepy and like menacing, but like it all starts because a dog pisses fire open. It's like, that's perfectly Freddy.
Yeah, sure. A dog starts digging, then piss on his grave with fire, and it summons it. Has some of the best practical effects to show like Freddy resurrecting and everything, and the dog runs away, right? Because dogs are the worst. I'm tired of this asshole cat stigma. There are assholes and everything, but
I don't know how many cats maul kids. Take that, pit bulls. Just a war on dogs today. They're also a man's best friend.
But yeah, and so then it just leads towards a fight where, again, we get to see Kincaid's power of flipping over cars and just seeing Freddy crush like a Looney Tunes character.
Yeah, I love that. As soon as he was like, nope, fuck this shit, and throws a whole car on him, and then jumps on the car and is like, yeah!
But yeah, and unfortunately, we see the end of Kincaid as Freddy. I guess after a weird zoom out, just appears right next to Kincaid and stabs him with his glove hand.
Boxes him in with the cars, and then Kincaid's like yelling for Kristen to join, but she's not sleeping, I guess. And he, just stabs him right there. But I love right after that, they zoom out, and like the whole world is just this junkyard maze of cars.
I thought that was like, man, that was...
It's just a fun little detail that takes
yeah.
like 4 seconds of the film, but really just like flexes the creative muscles.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated that. One thing that I thought it was weird, and I don't know if it's because of ratings boards, but a lot of times, typically, if somebody is like injured in their dream, you'll see the wounds outside and everything. And whenever we zoom out from Kincaid's perspective, there's no blood on him and everything, which I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if they do it because they had Jake the dog running up there to look him in the face, but I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Again, doesn't throw it off because it gets a point across that Freddy's killing him.
Sure. But it is a little gap in the world logic, I think.
Yes, a little bit. But again, it's so minor.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to get hung up on that one detail. Next on the list is Joey and everything, who is listening to MTV while on his waterbed, looking over at a model. And he does it twice, so I know immediately, well, that model's going to appear.
And the poster is signed, like, Sweet Dreams, Joey.
Yes, doing that. But I thought it was so creative, because I thought... This is where my fucked up mind was at, but because the water... I didn't realize it was like a waterbed he was on, but as soon as it starts rolling or whatever, and I'm like... Is she going to be like grinding up against him or whatever? But no, it's even better. And because she's in a swimsuit, she's inside the waterbed trying to get to him. And of course, he's like fascinated and trying to get. And as she drops deeper into the waterbed, I was afraid it was going to be stupid of him trying to dive in. But instead, that's whenever Freddy, pops the mattress and Joey's like sinking. And of course, have that amazing line, that's why I call a wet dream. And then Freddy's going for the kill and everything. And so I was like, that's funny. And I do like the small effect of the headphone jack being pulled the plug and everything else to show he's dead. Again, just sort of cheesy stuff like that.
Yeah, but they do love the great little symbolisms there, and they have a lot of fun with it. And then I even love that they show, because they didn't really show Kincaid's body being discovered or whatever, but they showed Joey's mom trying to find him, and then his body just being stuck in the waterbed.
Yeah, that was the creepy thing too. That it's completely sealed and he's inside, and so I'm like, does it make sense? No. Is it creepy as hell? Yeah. So sure, I absolutely buy it. So that was, it's like just overall the nightmares that I've had. It doesn't feel like half-assed. It already feels strong, which I was worried the nightmares would become less and less as the film continued on, but in all honesty, I felt like it just stayed consistent.
Yeah, they were always pretty good and creative, and you never really knew where it was going next.
Yeah, which is really freaking nice and everything. I was going to mention one thing that I just remembered about Alice. She has these moments, again, sort of daydreaming and everything, where she wants to be more assertive and everything else, and then it cuts back to her being serious. I didn't know how you felt about that.
I loved that the way they handled that as a character is that her brother was telling her that she needs to fight for herself and be confident, and it's after her brother dies and gets his powers or whatever that she starts asserting herself more, trying to leave the house whenever her father's like, stay. She's like, no, I have to go, and so like those moments overlap in a way that's like not only through the logic of the movie of like she's absorbing their powers and parts of their personality, but also like from a life character development standpoint, like her brother just died. She's going through like dramatic time in her life that would cause a dramatic shift in her personality. So I like the way they handled that, because if she was like at the same base level that she was at the beginning of the movie, she would have been a pretty boring character, I think. But I think she evolved over time in a believable way.
Yeah, I think that's good notation. I can't argue with. I wish I had more to say, but it's like, okay, happily said. I can't.
Because even like her appearance, like in the beginning of the movie, her hair's all like down in her face, and she's like shy. She, the Chad dude walks up to her in the diner, and she's like, "Oh hey, and then by the end of the movie, she's got her hair tied back, and she's in this new outfit, and she's like, her stance is such that she appears more confident. So even all the way down to her hairstyle and everything. I felt like they did a good job of communicating that without having a corny, like, take the glasses off, look in the mirror scene kind of thing or whatever. She just slowly over time becomes more of a badass. But...
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. one thing that I thought was great following the deaths of Kincaid and Joey and everything is, Kristen sort of freaking out, just being like, yeah, I just have a bad feeling and everything else. And then whenever she enters the classroom, seeing that the seats for Joey and Kincaid are missing, that's whenever she panics, because both of them being gone at the same point just alludes to her worst fear, is that Freddy is back, like she had at the beginning of the film.
Right.
And with her hitting her head and passing out and being at the nurse's office led to a great moment of the film, because the nurse head leans over and stuff. Like, I could tell, like, something was, like, I recognized something about it initially, but I couldn't pin on what it was, and then I just realized the nurse was Robert Englund and everything, just normal Robert Englund, no makeup or anything else, just with lipstick, and he's speaking like an elderly woman and everything. And whenever turns to face the camera and everything in the background, you see like the Freddy teeth, just a decaying sort of set of teeth he has going on, and he's like trying to draw some blood. And I'm just like, oh man, that's just so Freddy. And I like that whenever she wakes up, the nurse says the exact same thing Freddy did, not the time to draw blood, but the start of the thing. But I also like that the deaths of them is their way of telling new audiences about the lore of Freddy, and they do like a quick, like less than a minute explanation that I felt like did not bog down the story at all. It was just like perfect, like, here's the story of Freddy in case you don't know. Anyways, back to the film.
Right.
I will say one criticism is that Kristen's mom is like an absolute piece of shit.
She's a total dickhole. Yeah.
Like, it was just, like, unbelievable and everything. And it's not even...
drugs her own daughter.
And it's not even her pronunciation of andale.
Although, yeah, she definitely sounds like she would speak terrible Spanish at a Mexican restaurant to order. You know what I mean? Let me get 2 tamales and a chicken fajita. Excuse me, do you speak English? All right, can you give me somebody who does? She seems like one of those people.
Oh, my God, yeah. And it's one of those things that I'm like, why is she so awful and everything? Because like, not only is she like doing this, but then like as soon as she gets home and Kristen's like, yeah, if your two friends die in the same day, let me know how you're feeling. She's like, you're just tired.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, what
tired.
kind of...
You're just tired and you need to sleep whenever both your best friends died today.
Yeah, like, it was... That part for me, I was worried. I was like, is this a tipping point of like, we're going down now? But... it was just a weird choice to make her overly antagonistic, and it turns out she spiked Kristen's drink with sleeping pills, trying to help her sleep. And then, of course, she's like, oh, Kristen, I'm just trying to drug you, Kristen. Yeah, and it was just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, and she's like, you killed me tonight, Mom. Sleep with that. And then, you never really returned to the mom, but I hope she does feel bad.
Yeah, I hope she, the mom's an absolute piece of shit and everything. I do love the scene of Kristen just panically trying to figure out what to do as she's like falling asleep, because they have the camera from the ceiling, and it's just kind of that sort of drowsy state without having to do like that special effect where it leads an after image or whatever. So I appreciated that, and she's trying to reach Alice and everything, because she's trying to warn Alice about Freddy, but by doing that and everything with her powers again brings her but I forgot to bring it up. I do love that whenever Kristen's talking to Alice about it, Alice is like, oh, my mom told me this rhyme about a dream master and everything. And if you have the dream master help, you go to your happy place. And whenever Kristen falls asleep, she wakes up on a beach, and there's like a little girl building like a sandcastle whose name is also Alice and everything. But I loved how Freddy arrives, because you see like something moving in the water like a fin, and it's Freddy's glove, and it's just like becoming more prominent as it goes to the shoreline, which, mind you, this beach, they truly were like, we can't afford to go off to an actual beach here. So it's like, we're gonna plant a couple of palm trees nearby, but then you see clearly like Midwestern trees in the background, which, sure, it's a dream, like fuck it or whatever. But whenever his hand goes to the shoreline, it cuts through the sand, and whenever it gets to the sandcastle, it explodes.
Yeah, and he just like pops
and he's just
out.
standing there. It was just like perfect,
Right.
beautiful, no notes, absolutely wonderful. But then I love Kristen running away like in her colorful like bikini and everything, then ends up in quicksand, and absolutely cheesy goated shot of Freddy smiling as he slips on a sick pair of shades.
Yeah.
That
Because
is
he's
like
at the beach, baby.
that is like profile pic worthy
Yeah.
and everything. Doing that, it was just like, perfect, beautiful, absolutely. And then Freddy
he starts,
like
stomping her in the quicksand.
yes, like just pushing her head into quicksand, which I thought that's how she was going to die, but no, it just pushes her to sort of like Freddy's realm, which I love that it's like the house that Nancy lived in, and then they go down to the basement, which then becomes the furnace area. I was so happy to see the furnace area. I was like, hey, it's back. Yeah, the boiler room, it's back, baby. And so they're talking, and again, like Freddy's just taunting Kristen, and Kristen's like not afraid. She's like angry while also still being afraid, but angry and just trying to talk. But then as soon as Alice appears, she starts panicking. She's like, no, like you have to get away and everything. And basically whenever she warns Alice and has her body thrown into the boiler and everything, and that's whenever you see like the soul enter Freddy, but then something else flies towards Alice and everything. And I was again, whenever it came to it, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work, but they immediately run over to Kristen's house to see her bedroom is on fire because she busted into flames because again, she was tossed in the boiler and everything. But yeah, that's the interesting part with oh my gosh, Joey. Oh wait, no, not Joey. Good Lord Almighty, I'm trying to remember the brother's name and everything. Rick. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Rick has to go through a emotional state because he was dating Kristen and everything, and seeing her die and everything. He just feels horribly depressed and everything. And I believe he's depressed. Then that's kind of amazing for a slasher horror film to believe someone's actually depressed about his girlfriend dying. Right. It's like
they didn't really harp on it that much, but yeah, he does seem a little down in the dumps. Yeah,
just a little bit and everything. And so seeing that happen and everything, that's whenever like the next day of school happens and Alice is going there, and again she says the same line Kristen did. It's like, you know, we have the same matching luggage, you know, baggage under our eyes and everything. And then whenever she's talking to Sheila's like, oh yeah, I got this sick wave transmitter or whatever. I built.
To like get rid of bugs.
As soon as they pulled it out or whatever, I was like, well, I'm sure this won't be relevant to the plot later and everything. And then that's whenever Alice pulls out the cigarette. She's like, wait a minute, I don't smoke. Which I love the idea that she just happens to have cigarettes with her and everything. If she doesn't smoke, but
that's Kristen's power.
Having summon cigarettes.
Summon cigarettes.
Doing that. But I do love the build up to the classroom and everything, where, you know, the whole idea about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is that people die and nobody believes it because they can't see the killer or whatever. It's just sort of like a myth and everything. And so the way that they're able to handle this classroom kill and everything, I find very interesting because, again, one of the things that's established is that, you know, Sheila struggles with asthma and everything.
Yeah, she's got an inhaler.
And she had mentioned she has stayed up all the previous night trying to study for this exam and everything. And whenever they enter the classroom and she starts working on it, you know, she nods off to sleep and everything. And that's whenever she sees, like, Freddy, like, messing with her, writing on the page, making it drip blood. I do love the way that they trap the students by having, like, a bar set on the other side, and so they can't awkwardly shift out with how close it is. But not only is she trapped, but Alice is trapped as well, because I guess, I'm assuming Alice is daydreaming, potentially.
I think so. I think that's what they try to set up.
And then Sheila is having a nightmare and everything. And Freddy just sitting at the front of the classroom, peeling an apple with his finger. I'm just like, this just is writing itself.
Oh, Professor Freddy.
Yeah, and then going up and everything, and they really love making Freddy like sexual in the films and everything.
Well, he's like Bugs Bunny coded to me. I mean, he was in Dragon earlier in the film. He's always like he's got a hey, what's up, Doc kind of personality while he's killing kids.
Yeah, and so whenever she comes up and everything, and then I guess for the kill and everything, it's like, I'm gonna suck you dry or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, want to suck face?
Oh, that's what it was, suck face. And
then he just like goes in, and it's like, even though it's gross and weird, it's like super goofy coded. He just they don't spend a lot of time of him like actually trying to make out with this girl. He just immediately starts like sucking the life out of her.
Yeah, doing that. And again, in the real life, people think she's just having an asthma attack and everything because, again, they can't see. And so in my mind, it's like, wow, that's actually kind of brilliant because obviously you can't stab somebody in the public and you're like, oh,
right,
asthma attack.
Right.
Weird. But like in this situation, it's like one of those things where most people wouldn't say like, oh yeah, it's some like spectral killer killing people. It's like, no, it's just a freak, medical condition and everything. And again, that just sort of, again, makes Alice feel worse because she's like, okay, she knows that the original three, Joey, Kincaid, and Kristen, were killed because they were like the last of the original kids and everything on Elm Street. But now she's feeling guilty because she feels like now all her other friends are being killed as well and everything.
Right, and she feels like it kind of sets up the role that she plays in this movie for Freddy, is that Freddy needs her to use her power to like pull kids into the dream that he can then kill.
Yeah. And continuing on and everything, the next death I believe that happens is Rick and everything, who falls asleep in a bathroom stall, and it had the most weird ass transition to a dream possible, with like
a bunch of cheerleaders bust in the stall and like are all over him, I guess, but then his sister also like is there just witnessing it.
Yeah, also like experiencing it and everything, because it's during like another lecture exam about dreams that there's like a positive entrance and a negative entrance. And whenever Rick looks out to see like Kristen looking at the mirror, whenever Kristen actually turns around, she's like all burnt up. And whenever he freaks up and lands back in a stall, he's actually in an elevator now and everything. That's basically descending towards another level. And again, he had a sick Karate Kid moment, fighting and everything. So we know he's all about the martial arts and everything. So then he ends up like in this fucking dojo basically in the sky and everything, and is fighting invisible Freddy. Is like, if you're a true warrior, you should fight what you can't see.
Right. And then he does eventually adapt and starts kicking Freddy's ass while he's invisible. But I don't know.
Yeah, I do love that he kicks the glove, and the glove like flies backwards, but then the glove basically fires forward and just lunges right into him and everything. But yeah, unfortunate end to Rick and everything, but it does lead to like a moment I totally was not expecting, is for Alice to daydream, and basically she starts having a conversation with Rick whenever he pops open out of the casket.
Which I love, because it keeps Rick's personality while also being like, she's talking to a dead version of her brother at his funeral, but he like pops out of the casket and he's like, hey, hello.
Yeah, I like that, because they could have easily tried to make that like a scary moment.
Yeah, or like a somber one or whatever, but like that wasn't what Rick's personality was set up to be. So I love that in her daydreams and stuff, they're still keep their personalities.
Yeah, and one thing, while her friends are all dying, that I do think is cheesy, but I do like the metaphor, is towards the beginning of the film, they make an observation of like, mirrors are supposed to be for seeing yourself in, not your friends. Right,
in Alice's bedroom, she has so many pictures of her and her friends in her mirror that it covers all of it. And then, starting with the first death, she pulls a picture off and can see her reflection or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as the movie goes on, eventually, she takes them all off, and it's just a mirror and herself.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing that happen, and even though it is cheesy, and I understand the metaphor of finding your true self, whatever.
And also like that her friends are a part of her, and so like even though she takes down all the pictures, she's still looking at all of them in the mirror because they've become part of her, literally in the film, but also metaphorically the memory she keeps or whatever.
And I think it's whenever she's taking it out more of the photos that she breaks out the nunchucks and does the clearly stunt double in to do amazing nunchuck moves from behind as she's like whipping the nunchucks forward around her. And I was like, this is stupid, and I love every bit of this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think they did the most they could with that metaphor too, because like, I think it's before that what's her name, the workout girl,
Debbie,
that Debbie gives her like her little studded leather anklet or whatever, and is like, this will help you fight bullies or whatever, because it hurts when you hit them real hard with it. Whatever. But it's like, so, but she has the sort of Karate Kid headband. She has an item from Kristen as well, and so it kind of like, you can tell where this is going. She's like assembling the Megatron of like, all the little pieces of her friend, Earth, Wind, Fire, Heart, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, it also kind of signals that like Debbie's gonna die soon.
Yes, exactly. Especially whenever she's like, "Here, take my bracelet.
Right.
It's a good luck charm." I'm like, "Well, you're dead, Debbie.
Right,
you gave away your one charm."
Exactly.
And everything. Which she is the next one to die, but not before Alice has her own dream sequence, because she was supposed to be meeting up with Dan and everything,
Well,
just
Dan
trying
and
to
Debbie, I think, yeah.
Dan and Debbie both together, just to try to make sure they're watching out for each other. But clearly Alice's father is freaking out after losing, his son and everything, and he's like, "I can't lose you too. Please don't go," and everything. And she's like, "Okay, fine," and I'm sure she obviously had the intention of like waiting a bit and then leaving. But whenever we see her leaving, she doesn't see Dan anywhere waiting in front of the diner at all whatsoever. So then she wanders into a movie theater, because this is a dream.
Right.
Clearly a dream, and she is like sitting down and watching Reefer Bandits, because it's public domain, don't have to worry about rights, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But then she sees on the screen a haunted version of the diner she works at and everything. And then she starts to get sucked into the screen, and then we see the few audience members that are there are actually the teens that have been killed thus far, which I liked.
I love that a lot, yeah. And I love that they kept the frame, like just from an artistic standpoint, they kept the camera on the projecting of her in the movie and kept her in like black and white mode for a bit. But not enough that you get tired of it, but it's like a cool little shot.
It was very artistic. Again, it's just like, wow.
Because it's also interesting, she's also in the audience, like asleep or whatever, but like watching, so she can see herself, and then this is like a different version. It's like a dream within dream.
But yeah, and one thing that I do like a ton is the fact that whenever she walks into the diner, she sees like a waitress with like butter knives in her hands, and so you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is clearly Freddy fucking with them. But no, it's an older version of Alice still working at the diner, because she had mentioned earlier, she's like, "I'm afraid I'll be here forever."
Yeah, like that's her biggest fear or whatever.
Yeah, and I was like, that's so unique that they did that, and so cool that they did that as well. And of course, Freddy's taunting Alice more and more, because basically he just straight up tells her like, "I need you to get to your friends and everything. You're the connecting piece and everything," which I think is like kind of a unique place where the main character has that plot armor where Freddy's not going to kill her,
right,
because she's got to get to the other friends and everything. So I liked that aspect a ton. But also they had some gruesome stuff where, again, Freddy's clearly toying with them, because one thing about Freddy is that he always has like these souls, these faces on his body and everything of everyone he's killed. And even in the pizza slices, like he has
little meatball souls. Yeah, that was great practical effects. That was just like grotesque, and some of the body horror in this movie is like really expertly done. Even if you're not into that, it
really is and everything. And I just like bought it completely. And so then that's whenever Freddy's like, "All right, who do we go after next?" And they look behind the door, and it's like Debbie working out and everything. And so basically, Alice knows that Debbie's next, and so she has to try to wake up and get to Dan, so that way they can rush over and save Debbie and everything. And so that's whenever we cut over to Debbie, who's like working out and everything. And in all honesty, I kind of just expected the death to be just like the dumbbells like crushing her throat or whatever.
Because that's where it sets up. As she like wakes up on the bench and then goes back to bench pressing, and then of course Freddy appears over her, starts pushing the barbell down. I was expecting like, okay, dies from like asphyxiation freak accident from the weights, but they were more creative than that.
Oh, fucking A, they were. I was not prepared at all, because as they're pushing down on the weights and everything, her arms snap and everything, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty gruesome, and I thought that was just going to be it, and everything. But she gets up, she's flailing her arms around, and I'm like, I'm sure they're just showing off the effects, which again, unfortunately look really realistic. But then we see something starting to poke out from the wounds and everything, and I was looking, and they're insect legs. And at first I was confused on why this was happening, but then
She's the one that hates bugs
yes,
from the beginning. Yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that tidbit because whenever she was trying to eat some food, she saw like there was a cockroach on a piece of food and everything. It's threw it down. It's like, ew, or whatever. But yeah, her turning into a cockroach was nightmarish to say the least and everything, because you see like legs growing out from the side of her body and through her broken arms as she's trying to run away.
A real metamorphosis moment.
Yeah, really.
Really Kafka-esque.
Yeah, very, very body horror and everything, which I was not prepared for. And then as she's running, I could tell exactly with the walls. I'm like, she's in a roach motel, isn't she? And everything.
Yeah, because the floor gets all sticky and she gets her like face stuck to it, and then she like has to try to lift her head up off of it and like peels the skin off of her head to reveal a bug head underneath.
Oh, it was unnerving. Like that by far was the most uncomfortable dream sequence I saw and everything. And of course, like you see like the perspective of like Freddy looking in, and you see like other cockroaches. I'm like, oh, this is pure nightmare fuel. And as this is all going on and everything, you have Alice finding Dan. It's like, quick, Debbie's in trouble. We need to go there. Except for the fact that it happens 3 times in a row.
Yeah, she gets caught in like a little time loop or whatever. Which I love how, finally, fucking Chad McChatterton, whatever his name is, was like, it just like says the exact line that she says, and they were like, "Oh, we're in a loop." Freddy's toying with us.
Yeah, which I think is kind of unique, right? Because usually you would expect something more creatively messed up, but this is like so simplistic yet effective on like the dream sequence, like just playing through over and over again and everything, and just cutting through, and yet Dan's the only one to notice, like, because at first it's like, have you been through this before? And she's like, I don't know, go through. And so then whenever she comes back, he just repeats the same thing. He's like, we've been through this. She's like, it's Freddy, we're both asleep, aren't we? And he's like, dang it, and everything. Which unfortunately means it's too late for Debbie, as we get like one last cackle from Freddy where he's like, you check in, but you never check out.
Yeah, right.
And he crushes the box, and it's just like,
just
like a major splat, and I'm just like, good Lord Almighty.
Yeah.
But I do love that, they're still in the car and everything, driving forward, and they see Freddy, and they're like, okay, we're going to run him over. Not really thinking about the fact that Freddy's actually a tree, and they just ran into a tree. And I seriously thought that Dan was dead right then and there. Like, wow, what a gruesome kill.
Right.
In the sense of realistic, like, falling asleep at the wheel.
And also to make you kill your own love interest while trying to kill the person that's killing your love interest. You know what I mean? Like, it's psychologically twisted as well. But he's going to pull through. They throw him in the ambulance. And I love that it kind of puts a clock on the end of the movie, too, where they're like trying to put him to sleep, and he's like, no, he's allergic, like you can't put him to sleep. But finally, whenever they get to the hospital and Dan's getting wheeled in, she like rushes forward to the surgeon. She's like, how long till surgery? And he's like, 15 minutes or whatever. So she knows that he's like, I've got 15 minutes to get to sleep and keep him from getting killed by Freddy. But
yeah, which I liked a ton and everything. Again, like it. I'm a big sucker for the trope of main character suiting up and everything like that. And so just seeing her like take a handful of sleeping pills, gurgle it down, and then she's getting dressed, leather jacket on, pure badass mode, wrapping the bandana around the hand,
equipping the fucking bug zapper thing, which makes like a gun cock noise, which is great. She's like,
yeah, it was like so cheese, but so perfect and everything. And I do love that, like, again, she's able to be connected with Dan. And so as soon as he's put under and Freddy's obviously going for the kill, she drop kicks through her mirror.
Yeah, that's the crucial metaphor part, is that she clears off her whole desk, clears the mirror out, so she's just looking at her and her new suited up self. And then that's how she solves this, by embracing that, by literally drop kicking through the mirror.
Yeah, it just was completely sick as all get out and everything. So I was definitely like, oh yeah, this is great cheese. And again, it's the transition from mirror being through like sort of the X-ray viewing projection board and everything. And so whenever she's there and everything, she's basically ready to fight Freddy, and as she and Dan start trying to escape and everything, they're sent through like a little fun house wheel and everything, spinning walls
with
and
a
everything.
big stained glass circle on the other end.
Which honestly, I thought it was kind of unique that they brought it back to the church, and because like
that is part of the rhyme too. Is like 5, 6, get your crucifix or whatever it is. There is religious undertones to it.
Yeah, and then considering the very graphic backstory of Freddy Krueger given in 3 and everything, with his mother being a nun and everything.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm glad you forgot about it. Needless to say, not a fan of the backstory of Freddy Krueger, but that's beside the point. But I thought it was an interesting choice to have it be in the church. And I do like the fact that whenever basically Dan's being brought out of anesthetic and everything, he's like, oh no, I'm waking up and everything. And then he's telling the doctors, like, put me back under. I have to go back to sleep. He's like, no, you're fine. Relax, dude.
They're like, it was looking dicey there, but we pulled you through.
And then it just leads to a sick one-on-one between Alice and Freddy. And yeah, it's one of those things that I felt like just beating the shit out of Freddy as he just takes it and everything was great to watch. Because he has the, I know Kung Fu,
right.
because of her brother and everything. Fighting, taking it down, and they're just fighting in this church, walking across the pews and everything. Like, it's just like, yeah, this is just fun.
Yeah.
I like this a ton. I totally dig it. And you have like a little choir of kids waiting up in the loft, watching down as they're having this 1v1 and everything. And whenever she's like knocked back to a corner and everything, she breaks out Sheila's like contraption, grabs a wire, plugs it in, and starts zapping Freddy.
Zaps a big hole in his chest. You see his beating heart.
And then he just clears it up, and then he's like, oh, you can't beat me. And that's whenever she remembers, the rhyme and everything, which is like have evil face itself and everything. So she takes a reflection of the stained glass and looks, and I'm not gonna lie, I get it. It definitely feels like, man, this is very coincidental.
It's a little like Phantom Menace-y, like here's the secret and it kills the bad guys, but and I suddenly remembered this thing. But it is I did actually like the effects itself.
Oh god, yeah, the effects like leading up to it, like even with him looking through it, and you see just a cavern of screaming bodies. It's so hellish.
Yeah, and it's like circling through. Like it looks awesome, but it's also really sells the metaphor of like evil is destroying itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he sees himself reflected in such evils, and then the fucking souls on his body start like bursting out.
Yeah, rebelling.
Yeah, so like little baby arms and shit start like bursting out. There's like a woman that like pushes up against his like all the souls are trying to escape his body once they see themselves reflected, because he is like an amalgamation of these kids' souls and the sins that he's done to them. And the arms like reach out and like grip him against the wall of the church as he's like crucifying himself.
Yeah, he literally tears himself apart and everything, which I think is unique. I definitely think it's unique just to try to have like Freddy look at himself and kind of what he's become and everything, which is basically just damning souls of his victims and everything. And so the fact that he's what destroys himself, I think, is unique. Even if I do say it's coincidental that, it's just a reflection.
Right.
Doing that.
Every movie, and I feel like they don't need to. It's probably best that they don't harp on this, but it is like every movie has some secret way that he gets killed that just doesn't work in the next movie.
Yes, exactly. Like he just is like, that won't work this time.
There was even a reference to that where one of the people that was about to die was like, I'm not afraid of you, and he's like, who cares? Or whatever.
Yeah, he's just like,
yeah,
I don't care.
That was killed in another movie, is whenever you're not afraid of him or whatever.
Yes, exactly. He's like fear is what it was able to dictate his powers
or whatever. But now he's just like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care. I've ascended.
Yeah.
Doing that. But of course, Freddy tearing himself apart sees like the souls freed of all the people that have died in this film, and so Alice is able to confidently walk out of the church and everything, head towards the light. Very thematic and everything. And then it cuts to a future where she's like walking out with Dan and everything. They make a wish, and she sees the reflection of Freddy in the water, which I was afraid it was going to be some stupid thing where Freddy pops out of the water and pulls her out, which I feel like there's a time and place for that being effective, but whenever you've seen it so much, you just start to get like,
I like the way they handled it in this one, where it just gives a hint of like, yeah, we're gonna make another movie, you know. But at the same time, it's like he is kind of gone for now. It's just a reflection, you know. Which so much of this movie has like metaphors and symbolisms around reflections, obviously.
Yeah,
But,
I like that reflection. It's good. It's a lot to reflect on.
Right. The mirror in the film is pretty central to Alice's character, and then she ends up using his reflection to kill him, and then ends up seeing his reflection back in the water. But it's like, you know, there's a lot you could dig into there. So that I like the way that they use that.
Yeah, it's really solid. I didn't even think about that aspect either. I like the way you think, Mister.
I mean, reflection's central throughout. I mean, not to get on a tangent at the end here, but like you can see Freddy's reflection in the dumbbells before he kills Debbie. There's the reflection in the mirror with Kristen and with like Rick's scene. So the reflection, looking in the mirror, so to speak, is actually the central through line for this whole movie, and it's what ends up killing the bad guy. Is like, take a look in the mirror, pal.
Oh, and you know, Alice does go through the looking glass.
Right.
You know, he even makes a joke. Welcome to Wonderland, Alice.
Yeah.
So see, there you go. Man.
Artsy, fartsy movie.
When is it going to be part of the Criterion collection? Just the fourth one. Only the fourth one.
Honestly.
Yeah, seriously. Compared to some of the fix they've had.
Right. It's a well-made movie.
Yeah. Besides that, Bob, anything else you want to talk about with this film or anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. This film is just really damn solid all the way through. Truly, arguably the best one in the franchise and everything. So, yeah, glad it was a good time. You ready to be teased about the next episode?
Oh, I'm ready to be teased.
You better be. So this one is going to be a remake.
Okay.
And it's coming up on our anniversary. You know what that means.
So it's got to be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Indeed. Wow. So, yep, it's already coming up on our podcast anniversary. Wow. So to celebrate that in September, we're just going to be checking that film out. Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
That's all I'm going to say about that. No rip.
No.
Just in.
Yeah.
we know Hulk loved that word.
Yeah. Well, he and Freddy are in the same place.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. We'll see y'all again next time when we're popping the scary with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I was not prepared to be edgy this episode.
Whoopsies. Whoopsie doodle.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube, Castbox, or iTunes platforms to stay up to date when new episodes drop. To see what Aaron and I are up to, check out our respective Twitter accounts. For me, it is @ColeKirkVA, and for Aaron, it is @AnimalGameDev. Thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. We'll speak to you all again next time when we're popping the scary.